You're listening to the Plantbased, Not Perfect podcast, where we talk about striving for our healthiest selves while living in the real world. So, let's get into it. Happy Monday and welcome to episode 30. We are only 2 days away from a new year and a new decade, and I'm really excited to be able to finally share a secret project I've been working on with some other amazing plant-based women that's going to bring you so much plant-based inspiration and motivation in the new year. So stay tuned on the 1st to my Instagram, as I will finally be able to post and share this project with you. I know that you guys are going to absolutely love it. For today, I wanted to motivate and inspire you for 2020 by talking through a roadmap to help you with writing out your intentions for the new year. I personally love New Year's Day because it is a fresh start, even if it's cliche. I typically wake up early and go to the beach with my mother-in-law, and then we come back and write down our intentions for the new year and we discuss them together. And this can take a few hours. We really just write down everything that comes to our mind, and then we share them with each other and kind of how we're going to achieve them. And I find that writing them down really embeds them in your mind more than just saying them out loud. So be sure to get out some paper and have fun with it. Do it with your friend or your mother-in-law. That way they can be an accountability partner for the next year along the way. So for the roadmap, I don't just write them and then put the piece of paper away and then I don't pull it out until the next year. What I do is I keep it in my journal so that I can look at my intentions throughout the year and reference them when I journal each day. So I journal very similar things every day repeatedly to embed them in my mind. And that way it's showing me what I want to achieve and it becomes more of a mantra than just a fleeting thought. So let's get into how I break down my roadmap. And I will share these in the show notes and on my blog so that you don't have to write them out, especially if you are driving. First, I set my intentions into 7 quadrants, and then within each quadrant, I set my plan on how I'm going to achieve each of these goals. And it's important to think of how you're going to accomplish your intentions, because goals are just dreams without actionable steps behind them. So the first intention is health. This could be whether you want to tone up your body, be able to do more push-ups, maybe eat more plant-based on a daily basis. So write out all of your health-related goals that you would like to achieve in 2020. For 2019, I really wanted to work on having my fittest body. And so for my plan on accomplishing this, I made it my intention to try to move every single day, whether it was a Melissa Wood health workout, a YouTube video, yoga, or solid core. Having a fit body to me means being toned all year round. So I felt that I needed to add more movement into my life to achieve that goal, because previously I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I was eating really clean, but I really wasn't working out very much. And this has really helped me achieve what my goal was for the year by incorporating movement as much as possible. And it's not something I necessarily do every day because sometimes life gets in the way, but my goal was to try to move every day. And so I keep that in the back of my mind each day throughout this year as something that I know I need to do to stay on track with my goal. So having a fit body also means what you put in your body. So I also set an intention to fuel myself with whole plant-based foods 90% of the time. And we all know That's pretty much how I eat anyways. But setting it up as an intention that I wanted to achieve made it more real and something in my mind that I was working towards over this last year. Both of these intentions have now become my everyday lifestyle, so I don't really have to think about them anymore. And if you're wanting to become more plant-based, I suggest aiming for steps first of maybe making a few days a week plant-based just to help ensure that you reach your goal. So you don't want to say, oh, I'm just going to become 100% plant-based tomorrow when you are not plant-based today. The likelihood that you will follow through with achieving that goal is going to be difficult because you're transitioning and it's new to you. So I would set achievable steps that will get you to where you want to be a year from now. And I personally, that has worked best for me. So I just wanted to share that as well. The number 2 quadrant is wellness. Maybe you want to drink lemon water every morning or cut back on sugar. For 2019, I wanted to be more mindful when drinking alcohol. And yes, I will do a whole podcast on alcohol coming soon. So for this, my actionable step was to give myself a number of drinks to stick to when I went out. I don't go out very often, but when I do, I would forget that I wanted to be more mindful with my drinking, and then I would end up drinking more than I had wanted to. So I made an actionable plan that when I would go out, I would not drink more than 4 drinks tops. And that helped me drink less and not feel hungover the next day, which in turn helped me make healthier food choices and stay in line with my health intentions. So this is just one example, but it is so important to assign plans to how you're going to get there, not just putting out this goal in the universe and hoping that it happens, but actually thinking through what you need to change in your habits to actually achieve your goal. So the number 3 quadrant is finances. Maybe you want to save more money, stop using your credit card, or maybe you want to earn more money. So for 2019, I wanted to finish paying off our debt that we incurred from building our house. And if you follow me, you know that we accomplished that goal in October of this year. And the actionable step to getting there was to set aside a certain amount of money each month to pay it off in a certain amount of time and stick to that plan no matter what so that we could achieve this goal in 2019. If I just wrote on a piece of paper, I want to pay off our debt, and I didn't actually think about how the hell I'm going to get there, then I don't think I would have achieved it. I probably would have kept putting it off. But instead, because I assigned a certain number of dollars to go towards my debt repayment, I knew that every month I was sending a certain amount no matter what happened. And that is what helped me achieve my goal. Setting goals isn't as simple as just writing it down. We really need to think of how we are going to take steps each day to master the goal. If you want to save more money, create a budget and see how much you can realistically put towards savings. And then your next step could be automating your account or your paycheck to just move that money into a savings account or move that money to pay off a bill so you don't even think about it or see it. You know, you're taking an action to make your goal happen. So this is an actionable step to get you there. Quadrant 4 is work life. Maybe you want to move up to another position at your company or work on getting a raise. Personally, for my work life in 2019, I really wanted to change my attitude at work and how I handled my clients. To do this, I stopped checking my emails in the morning, and when I would feel anxiety, I would tell myself, life isn't that serious. And this saying really helped me change my mindset for work and how I approached each day. For me, after being at my job for over 10 years, some days you need to just mentally, prep yourself. And when I journal, I make sure to write out the mantra of life isn't that serious, because it really helps make a switch in my brain before I start my day and I go to work, because life isn't that serious and work certainly isn't that serious. And sometimes personally, I can be too serious. That's definitely one of my, I wouldn't say flaws, but I can be at work a very serious person where I treat everything, even the most simplest thing, like it's such a big deal. And sometimes it really isn't, and I would let it bother me. So I've really worked on this year trying to just change my whole mindset about how I approach work. And I refuse to accept that we can't have fun at work and approach it with a positive attitude every day. Life really is how we approach things and how we react to them. So choosing to react to them with a positive mindset can and will shift your attitude, and then it will shift your happiness. Quadrant number 5 is personal growth. You could write so many things out under personal growth, and I encourage you to write as many as possible. There's no right number, and you don't have to follow my exact quadrants. I just kind of came up with these because they made sense to me in my OCD brain, but you certainly don't have to stick to these. These are just kind of to give you an idea, an example to follow when you are road mapping out your 2020 goals. So for personal growth, maybe you want to be more social, make more friends, or ask someone out who you like. So for 2019, I really wanted to challenge myself more and push myself out of my comfort zone. The actionable steps I took to do this were: I joined a new workout class, Solid Core. I started being more community focused and trying to put myself out there more than I typically did. So I started going to the Saturday yoga in the park. I go to the local farmers market. And I think just being part, oh, lady's barking. Just being part of a community, whether it's the yoga community or just your local community, really helps you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, meet new people, make more friends, make more connections of maybe more people who are more like-minded like you. So I have found that to be a big growth for my personal development. I also launched my podcast. I wrote an ebook, and I designed t-shirts for Plantbased, Not Perfect. If you haven't checked out the ebook or the shirts yet, they are on my blog at hotandhealthy.com. So instead of just dreaming about these things and talking about them and just making a list of, oh, I'd like to do an ebook or I'd like to make a t-shirt one day, I just went for them and said to myself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Maybe no one listens or nobody wants to download my ebook. But you know what? Who really cares? I don't care. And I think you really just don't know if you don't try. And I thought maybe my podcast would have like 30 downloads. And I actually am so excited because I have reached 25,000 unique downloads. And I've only been working on my podcast for a few months now. So that really excites me and drives me to continue putting out new content for you guys, because I feel that you're actually listening and that has really helped me go outside of my comfort zone to do the other things I spoke about that maybe in the past I would have talked about them but not really ever followed through, or I would have said like, oh, once I have this many followers, I'll do this. Once I have this many listeners, I'll do this. But instead I just did it. And that has been a huge year. Of 2019 has been probably one of the biggest years of growth for me personally, but I've also been focused on personal growth. And I think that's something I journal about every day to keep on the top of my mind of how I want to challenge myself more and get out of my comfort zone, because I just feel that life is so short and so fleeting. And I want to do everything I've wanted to do now. I don't want to put things off till later. So for me, those are the things that I have worked on really hard in 2019. And I hope those inspire you guys for your own personal growth intentions. The number 6 quadrant is passions. This could be to maybe read more books, travel to a new country, or launching a podcast. So for 2019, Mac and I made a list of the places we wanted to travel to. And then we mapped out how much the places would cost for us to achieve those trips. So we had a plan on what we needed to make our dreams a reality. I also wanted to make more time for my passions. One of my main ones is learning about health and wellness. So to spend more time reading and learning information, I needed to skip the things that steal time away from you. I don't watch regular television. I don't have cable. I monitor my screen time so I'm not aimlessly scrolling on Instagram, and I set aside time each weekend to learn more so that I can then share that knowledge with you guys, which aligns me with my true passion, which is helping others. And the number 7 quadrant is relationships. This could be with your significant other, with your family, and with yourself. There's really no limit to how many intentions you want to set under each quadrant. For myself, I really focused on myself this year and being more direct. As I am a Libra, I'm very non-confrontational. I hate confrontation almost to the point of I just avoid it completely, and then it gets you in really weird situations. So sometimes I say yes and I agree to things I don't really want to do. So what I worked on this year was not committing to something unless I'm 100% into it, and I don't say yes automatically anymore. I think it is so important to build boundaries for yourself, and I seriously grew up lacking in that department for most of my life. So for my relationship with myself, setting up my own boundaries has in turn made me a happier person, because I'm only doing the things that I want to do. And it sounds kind of selfish, and maybe it is, but for my happiness, which I think is the most important thing, that was what I needed for myself. And there are little things like not saying yes to maybe some random baby shower I don't even know the person and I really don't want to go to. In the past, I would have just automatically said yes, but now it's like, I don't really know that I want to spend, 5 hours of my Sunday doing that. I'd rather just send a gift and whatever. So for me, that was a really big one. And this also kind of translates over to work, because I haven't always been great with boundaries. And then it would give me anxiety around things because I didn't want to be confrontational. And I've really just started to work on being more direct and saying exactly how I feel. And that has turned out to be really helpful and made me a lot happier in work life as well. So those are the 7 quadrants of what I recommend writing out on a piece of paper in your journal, and then just taking the time with yourself, or maybe with a friend, or like me, your mother-in-law, and just putting everything out there that falls under them. And if you come up with another quadrant that works for you, that's awesome. Let me know what it is. This roadmap has me so excited to map out my own 2020 intentions, and I will be sharing them on Wednesday with you. Be sure to comment on my Instagram post for today and share one of your intentions with me. This is going to be an amazing year, and I am here to help you achieve your healthiest self possible. So before I end today's episode, I wanted to answer one of your most asked questions of 2019. I got this one a lot and I have not answered it yet, so I wanted to answer it on this podcast. The question is how to overcome emotional eating and overeating. This question is perfect for 2020 road mapping because you can set aside time to think about your plan to overcome this issue. So for me personally, I would write out why I'm emotionally eating or overeating and first try to get to the root cause of the issue. Is it because you're bored, sad, lonely? Do you eat a lot because it gives you satisfaction that you aren't getting somewhere else in your life? Maybe you're unhappy at your day job and when you get home you eat because it makes you feel good. Once you get to the root of that, I personally think that that's the most important thing, to understand the why. Then I would make a plan for how to overcome the why. So if you're lonely or sad or bored, I would look into getting more involved in activities that take up your time, introduce you to new people, and get you out of the house. You need to take action to offset that feeling that you're having. If it is giving you pleasure, I would try to fill your day with things that make you happy to offset trying to get your happiness from food, whether it is writing, painting, spending time with family and friends. If it is your job that you're not happy at and that's where you're spending your whole day, I would go back to some of the things I previously said about what you can do to try to be happier at work. And I know that it's not that easy for people if you just say, oh, well, if you're not happy at your job, just leave. Trust me, I understand. I've worked my whole life. I think that you have to make yourself happy at work. And it isn't always the answer to just run away and quit your job. I believe that you need to find things that make you happy and try to weave them into your workday. So for instance, I listen to a podcast in the morning on my way to work, and that really puts me in a positive mindset. It gets me in a good mood, and I just love learning. So I'm doing that first thing, not checking my emails. I get to work. Then at work, I try to make sure to leave for lunch every day as a non-negotiable for my mental well-being. Even when I was paying off debt and I had no money, I would go sit out in my car and listen to a podcast and eat my lunch in my car in the sun, and that is what made me happy. And I needed that. And I think you need to find those things. Maybe it's if you have a 20-minute lunch break, go for a walk around the building, just get outside. Anything you can do to make yourself happier at your current situation, I think is key. The other thing I was thinking about when reading these questions is you could also be overeating because you simply aren't eating enough in the day. If maybe you're being too strict with your diet and then you end up binging at night. So I would try to really focus on making sure you feel full at all of your meals. Don't be afraid of complex carbs, and really look at what you're eating during the day and be honest with yourself if it isn't enough food to keep you satiated. If you're not eating enough during the day, of course you're going to come home, be really hungry. And then if you have things to eat in the house that aren't that great, you're setting yourself up for failure. I would also just not buy those things so you don't have them in the house to eat. I think that could be huge too. Another really big tip that I have for this is not to eat in front of the television. You want to sit down with your food and mindfully eat so that you recognize when you feel full. Sometimes we don't realize that we're getting full because our minds are focused on the show that we're watching instead of what we're eating and how we're feeling. So I think it's really important to add mindful eating and really think about what you're eating, enjoy what you're eating, and then you can recognize when you're starting to feel full as opposed to eating in front of the television and just mindlessly snacking or mindlessly eating your dinner. I think it's really important to set aside that time with yourself when you're eating, and that can really help with overeating. So I really hope that this answer helps anyone struggling with these issues. And as always, please feel free to direct message me on Instagram and let me know any other questions you have that I can help with. I am so excited for 2020 and everything that it has to bring. And I thank all of you so much for your support in 2019. And I can't wait for the new year to see what it has in store for us. Thank you so much. Bye.